Hello, this is Jim Stockstill bringing you a program from my program entitled The Handwriting on the Wall. Today I want to bring an alarming message about this vaccine that Bill Gates is trying to introduce to the world and Anthony Fauci is trying to introduce to the world. Anthony Fauci was head of the World Health Organization, and he's responsible for developing the virus that has been let loose on humanity. He started out in North Carolina, at University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill, experimenting with the coronavirus, and he started out and kept on trying to do it despite a moratorium that said he couldn't do it. And he was being financed by the Bill and Melinda Gates organization. And so finally, the University of North Carolina has a biological safety laboratory which studies the highest diseases, the highest, deadliest diseases in the world. And so he finally had to move it from North Carolina. He moved it to Wuhan, China. And Wuhan, China has a BS4 lab. And you can check that out. All you have to do is Google it. All you have to do is a Chrome, put it in Chrome, and it'll come up by Wuhan Biological Virology Lab. And it's a huge thing where they study. So he moved it there, and there he created this virus underneath the electron microscope. He manipulated it, and this has been a well conceived plan by mice and men to put this on us. Mice and Men was a great book that was written in the, I think, in 1920s or something. But anyhow, it's headache. He developed this, and then they got this story that it was released in a meat market, and that they were working on bats, which they may have been working on bats, but it was purposely released. And then the news media gets a hold of it, and the news media never focus our attention that this is a biological virus. This is a man-made, manipulated virus which has been let loose on the world. And it's shut down the world. It was planned to, but mostly it's been shut down by fear. The virus actually is not as deadly as they say it is, and they've got medicine which quickly disperses the virus, but they're trying to take it off the market so they can vaccinate us with this new vaccine that they've created. So the head of Satan's organization is called the New World Order. Headquarters is in Brussels, Belgium, and the United Nations is the head of it. And all these others, the World Health Organization comes right under it, and they're all satanic, and they all work together under the all-seeing eye of Satan. So anyhow, they released this virus, but all we hear is the danger of the virus. They shut down the world with fear, and now they want to come up with this vaccine. Well, this vaccine could either be the mark of the beast or a precursor to the mark of the beast. I think it's a precursor, but don't rely on me. There's great men of God who believe that this is the mark, because this vaccine's different than any other vaccine. This vaccine actually injects RNA and DNA into our bodies, which have already been programmed. The RNA to do a different coding in our cells, a different coding that will interrupt the natural coding that God has put in our cells, and replace it with the RNA coding or the DNA coding, which will produce the antigens. Well, this here is messing with our genetic structure. This is messing with what makes us human. This is messing with what God has already programmed in us. And it's very dangerous because in the natural Greek it says the beast system which it will introduce is called an it system. And an it system is something that God did not create. And so God did not create this system, and therefore it says in Revelation that the false prophet causes all people, young and old, rich and poor, bond or free, to receive a mark so that they can, without that mark, they can't buy or sell, so that they can buy and sell. So if you take this mark, it's going to alter your genetic coding. It's going to make you something other than human. I don't know if you've got a good enough background in Scripture to realize that in Daniel chapter 2, it says that they mingle their seed with the seed of men, but it doesn't bind, because iron does not bind with clay, and we're clay. It says they mingle themselves, they mix with the seed of men, and it doesn't bind. So Daniel was trying to tell us that they're going to, in the last days, they were going to mingle with us. They were going to mess with our seeds. And we have transhumanism, and we have all kinds of clone. We've been able to clone since the 1940s. We can clone people. They have no souls, but we can clone people. We can clone sheep. We can clone animals. We can grow our human parts on embryos. Animals can grow our eyes and our lungs, and we can use that. We've got the technology here to do all kinds of things. But this vaccine has the potential to change our genetics and make us something other than human, and the beast system is something other than human. That's why they're not redeemable. They cannot be redeemed. Just like in Genesis chapter 6, I believe it is, where the sons of God looked upon the women of men and came down and took wives as they wanted, as they chose, and they were not redeemable. Their souls are not redeemable. Their spirits are the demon spirits that roam this earth now. And Jesus said it'll be like the days of Noah. You know, it started out with a genetic thing. They messed with the genetics in Noah's day, and every imagination of man was against God, and they was messing with the genetics then, and they're messing with the genetics now. So I'm just warning you. There's some great preachers that are saying this is the mark, but here's the thing. Bill Gates has come out and said, look, you know, I'm going to have this great vaccine, which he's highly invested in the vaccine, in the pharmaceutical companies that makes the vaccines, and so is Fauci. He's heavily invested in the vaccines. So he says, look, we'll have the vaccine in 18 months or so, and with this vaccine, you'll be able to travel, you'll be able to, you know, to go into stores, you'll be able to do what you want to do. But without the vaccine, you won't be able to enter into businesses, you won't be able to ride public transportation, trains, planes, you won't be able to go to church. You won't be able to do these things because you're dangerous. You're dangerous. You haven't had the vaccine. He's trying to market this vaccine and make it mandatory, and some of the third world countries are going to make it mandatory. And then Christians are going to be faced with either deciding whether to take this vaccine, which has genetic properties in it, besides all kinds of formaldehyde and all kinds of sickening things in it, and some of these third world countries are going to force the people to take to take it. So this vaccine has not been tested vaccination by Bill and Melinda Gates in Africa. In some tribes in Africa, they vaccinated in the early 2000s, 2005, 2006. They vaccinated children, paralyzed thousands of children, killed thousands of children with these vaccinations. And just look at the regular vaccinations now. Look at the regular vaccination. Autism, sky high. Kids that were bright. And I have a friend that has a bright-eyed kid, a beautiful kid, smart. And as soon as he got that 3-in-1 vaccination or whatever it was when he was a year old, the light went out of his eyes. He hasn't been right since. Autism on the rise. So we have to be very careful about this. There's been some placebos. They're bypassing animal testing with this vaccine now. They're bypassing it. Vaccines took many years to make, and now they want to do it in just a few months and make it mandatory and force it on the people. And Agenda 21 of the New World Order says that they want to reduce the population from 7.5 million to 7.5 billion. They want to reduce it down to 500 million on the Georgia Guidestones, which is in Georgia, a huge stone monument chiseled in 5 or 6 different languages. It lists all the agenda of the New World Order. We have to realize this is not conspiracy. This is a big statue sitting in the middle of Georgia that you can walk up and kick and touch and feel, and it's got the Agenda 21 on it. So Satan has his agenda here. This virus is a direct biological attack on the people of this world. And it wouldn't be complete unless there was a vaccine for the virus, which Bill Gates is coming up with a vaccine on it, you know. So this is a warning, and this is a short video, and I'm going to do more videos. I'm going to do a bunch of videos, but this is a short warning that, in summary, the people of the world are under attack by a man-made virus, and if you study it completely and totally, you will see there's so much information and so much proof that the virus was released from Wuhan, China. It's been downplayed by the corporate media, which is owned by 6 major corporations, and they only parrot what the 6 major corporations want to tell you. Mostly what you're hearing on TV is propaganda. You're not hearing the truth. There's very few, in America, I think Fox has a little bit of truth, and they're getting scolded for not having, telling the truth. So we are under a biological warfare attack, and yet it has been played up as if it's an escape virus out of Wuhan, and it wasn't purposely let loose, and it's affected the world. You can go to the remotest village in the world and you'll see people walking around with masks. They're controlling this. It's a tool of control. It's a tool of control. If you don't take this vaccine, in some countries you will not, if they make it mandatory and you don't have it, you cannot go into a business, you cannot go into a picture show, you cannot movie house, you can't go to a sporting event, you can't go to church, you can't go to anywhere where there are mass meetings and people there. We're not going to return to normal. The world is never going to be normal. It wasn't normal for the last 20 or 30 years. It was probably never been normal, but it's getting more insane and more insane and more insane. Christians are going to have to make a decision. you're going to have to make a decision if you're going to take the mark. The mark of the beast eventually will come. Whether this is the mark of the beast, I don't know. But it's certainly messing with our DNA and our RNA, our genetic coding. It's messing with what makes us human. It's messing with the coding that God, coding, C-O-D-I-N-G, the coding, genetic coding that makes us human. You know, at a certain part in our genetic coding, when we're just one cell, and then we're a number of cells, and then we get lungs, and we get eyes, and we get ears, and then all throughout our lives, our bones grow, and we mature, and then we get old, and the coding is always programmed. Our cells are programmed just like a computer program, and they fire off and they regenerate, and then as we get older they quit regenerating, and we start the process of dying. But we are genetic coding. That God made us that way, and He put properties in us, and if we'll take care of ourselves, we can extend our life for a long time. But we'll have to make a decision. Are we going to get our children vaccinated? Are we going to take this vaccine? Are we going to take the chance of it paralyzing our young children who haven't had a good immune system yet, whose immune systems are not mature? We'll have to make that decision, folks. So this is a warning. Greater is He that is in us than he that is in the world. The way we're going to make it in the last days is to get really close to God. We're going to have to really get close to God in the last days. So I don't want to keep just talking about it. I just want to tell you that it's a warning. Please heed this warning. Until next time, this is Jim Stockstill saying I want you to keep looking for the handwriting on the wall.